All right, welcome everybody to another episode of At Witt's End. I'm Ken. That's Carson, and Carson's getting redundant, but it's kind of a tagline now. 6,000 miles away, 9-hour difference. So it's a lovely morning here in California, and I guess late afternoon. Yeah,
Or evening
early
time,
evening in
7 o'clock
Austria.
here.
So yeah,
Yeah, I
um,
think
to,
uh, I think you pointed at me this way, but I can't remember in the recording when I
it's in
posted on
there.
YouTube if you're on the other side.
Yeah, so okay, that way.
Just point both directions and then you'll get it right. Yeah, there you go.
But yeah, and and we're still learning. So yeah, I don't know which direction to point. Hopefully, our volume levels are correct. But today's episode, I believe, is 13, and thank you for following us. But today's kind of a sports travel episode, kind of unique. Carson had I hate to say bucket list event recently, just this past week, but more of a I don't know. When you say bucket list, I always think of guys my age checking things off before they go 6 feet under. So I don't
Just
like to
one of
use that
those.
life
Yeah, it's
events.
just
Something you,
yeah, one of those sport. I'm a fan of sport, and so one
yes,
of those
yeah,
events where this is one of those like worldwide events that
yeah. But before we get
represents it
into
very
that,
well.
it's been a kind of a big sports weekend globally. You had another NFL game in London, which we all believe there will be a London franchise, which I think is going to be super interesting when that happens. Uh, I think immediately it'll have a huge English fan base, probably a European fan base, but also a big U.S. fan base. So the Packers didn't do too
Packers
well.
Giants. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't say I watched the game just because of the time. So
I watched the Giants fought back from they were behind the whole game and they actually fought back. I think that they were down 20-10 at halftime and then
wow,
came back won 27-22. Gave up no points. They had a gave up like they purposely had a safety on themselves late in the game with like 11 seconds left. That was the only points the Packers got in the second half. So they fought back, and for a Giants team of recent years that has been bad and hasn't really had a lot of fight in them.
well, they're the best football team in New York.
Yeah, yeah, this year.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
feel bad for my friends who are big Jets fans, but hey, congratulations to the Giants.
Yeah,
That
it's very cool to see. I think the fans are definitely into it. The stadium was covered in Packers logos. Like you could really hear the crowd chanting for the Packers, which it almost
which is
felt like a
weird.
Packers home game. So I don't know like what the mix of traveling fans and English fans is, but the one thing I do know is tickets for those games are expensive. So
Yeah, but
um,
it's also unusual because you and I have mentioned it before. The number one sports franchise globally is the Yankees. I mean,
oh yeah.
Yankees hats are everywhere, so I'm kind of shocked that the Packers, basically a Midwest working class town,
You see,
filled the
it's
stadium.
So I'll say that. So living in Europe now, I've seen a lot of American sports teams, people just wearing their stuff, or just American institutions in general. And there's a few you see like regularly, and obviously the far and away is the Yankees hat. That is the most popular sports item in the world, in my opinion, is the Yankees
What
hat.
and
Like by far, and it's
and
crazy.
what did our family Melly, when she came to visit the U.S. California, what'd she buy? A Yankees hat. Which I'm going. Why are you buying it? You can buy that anywhere from any cheap stand on the
Yeah, and it's
sidewalk in any city.
It's it's not the new era ones either. It's the like curved, like kind of old school, very
Yeah,
simple, like kind of
in
dad
any
hat
color.
style.
In any
Yeah, yeah,
color.
and they come in varieties of colors. So that is the number one by far. It's not even close. The other thing you see a lot is surprisingly Jets gear, primarily because it's New
Oh,
York. But
yeah.
I see a lot of New York Jets stuff.
What about
Um,
Mets?
I Not no Mets stuff. It's really just Jets and Yankees.
You know what?
Those are
I
like the
saw a
only
lot
two I
of,
see.
not a lot, but some more 49ers stuff that recently, San Francisco too, the last few trips to
Maybe
Europe.
I do see Raider stuff. Like Raider Nation is international. I'll see the Raiders
I don't
logo
remember
from
seeing
time to
much of
time.
that, but
I see
yeah.
it pretty often, but it's just far and away Yankees. The other thing you see a lot of Harvard stuff everywhere. You'll see it
Yeah.
on all the kids walking around with sweatshirts and stuff.
Oh, by the way,
Excuse me,
Carson's he got sick on his trip, so yeah, you'll have to excuse
yeah.
him.
So the other interesting, so two games down in London. I think the next game is another one at Wembley. So the last two have been at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, which was purpose built to not only house the
Hmm.
Spurs, but to also host NFL games. They actually have locker rooms separate from the football, European soccer teams' locker rooms, specifically sized and only for use by NFL teams. And the
That's why
stadium's
you pretty
beautiful. It
much
looks like
know
an
they're getting a
NFL.
yeah. You pretty much know there's a franchise coming based just on the
And then
stadium.
I think the next international game is Wembley. The English stadium. They've had games there before.
Is that
And
the
then
Bucks?
I'm not sure who's playing at Wembley for that NFL matchup, but after that is actually the first NFL game in Germany, mid-November. I think November 11th is when it is, something like that, and it is happening in Munich at FC Bayern München Stadium, a place where I've been a couple times now, a football-sized stadium, and it is Buccaneers versus Seahawks matchup. So Tom Brady,
Oh, I thought that was in
um,
Britain. So that is in
yeah, that's the
that's in
Munich
Bern.
matchup.
Bern.
Yeah,
And
so
how
that'll
much are
be
tickets?
interesting. Still, so I looked today, so tickets have gone down. So I looked a few weeks ago, and the cheapest tickets were like 660. As I've looked earlier today, they were cheapest. I think it was 520 euro.
That's yeah. So
For a
pretty
nosebleed
close.
upper deck corner seat.
Which kind of
It
pisses me
is.
off. I'd love to talk to somebody that is a European football fan and getting into U.S. football, American football, and say that went to the game and asked them, I don't know, you're paying 50 euro, €100 to go to a Premier League game, and you're paying 600 euro to go to an NFL football game.
It's. I mean, you got it. It's the first NFL game in Germany, so it is a
Still,
pretty big deal. But those are very like way more expensive than any soccer match, football match. That I can remember there. I mean, I went to a Nations League match, Germany versus England. Tickets were cheaper, much cheaper, and I had like third row tickets, and they were like 60 euro or something. I went to a Bayern Munich match during
wait,
COVID
Nations
with like
League. That is,
that is countries in Europe playing each other.
oh, okay. I thought
Yeah.
that was the national in England. That's a
No, no,
league
that
of
is
itself.
that's yeah, that's a different league.
Okay.
Nations League is a country tournament which England and Austria just got relegated.
Out
So
of
they were playing in
or
yeah, they're
into
playing in a lower division. So we'll be playing lesser countries.
England?
England did, yeah,
Wow, that is not
and
good.
Austria, yeah.
Wow.
So
Nothing.
yeah, that's pretty funny. But
Wow.
so real quick before we get into
Your
more
trip?
football, yes, more football stuff. Let me first congratulate Max Verstappen
Wait,
on
wait.
winning
I'm not going to put the hat on, but going to have to
another
get
one of
another
those.
hat. Yes. So,
Winning the World Drivers' Championship today in the
wore
weird
the F1
Japanese
watch
Grand
today.
Prix. Weird Japanese Grand Prix, but Max took the victory in a rain-soaked
I
affair.
think he's even
Um,
disappointed that it was, uh, I hate to say it, kind of a rained out race. It kind of sucked. I did
yeah, it
stay up a
was.
little bit to watch it, and all I did was watch interviews of everybody in the, yeah, it was
We saw
in the
McLaren
paddock.
playing Uno in the paddock in the garage. Their mechanics playing Uno in the garage
Yeah.
during the
Yeah.
delay. So yeah, rather disappointing race for a championship to be decided on, but we all knew it was coming.
Hmm.
Whether it was at the previous race, at this one, at U.S. race coming next. So the next thing to be decided is the constructors, which could be decided in Austin at the U.S. Grand Prix. So that is interesting. Most likely will happen there,
When
but
is that
we'll
race?
see. 2 weeks, I believe.
Oh,
So that is probably going to be decided there, but you know, stuff did happen. So yeah, unfortunately, a disappointing way to crown a champion, but Max Verstappen, dominating season, 2022
yeah.
World Drivers Champion. So
And
congrats
Red
to him.
Bull, I mean, podium 1 and 2, Perez, uh, and then the
Sergio's had some
lackluster
strong
Ferrari
races.
crew. So I feel bad for Walter back in goals. He's probably crying in his screen, but Max has taken it.
And a big
So
shout out to Gotifi for 2 points, first 2 points on the year. Shout out Gotifi. Um, yeah,
hey, Arsenal just scored too. On a side note,
3-1,
yeah, no 3-2.
3-2. Oh, Liverpool tied it up.
Yeah, we're watching the Liverpool Arsenal match as we're.
He's watching. I turned it off, but
Oh, you did? Okay, I
you can
thought you
provide
were.
me updates if other
Hey,
stuff happens.
talk. Go. Sorry about the distraction, but in the race, was there some controversy with Vettel or
I
somebody?
mean, early on, he first lap, first corner, he spun. The only controversy really that I saw, that is actually pretty important was Pierre Gasly.
Oh,
Um,
Gasly. I'm sorry, you're right. It was Gasly.
yeah, so during the first safety car incident on the first lap, he had some issues. He had to get his front wing replaced, and so he went to the pits, came back on. He was way behind the rest of the pack, and
Well,
the
didn't
pack went
wasn't there
by.
some
Well,
there
yeah.
was some
So
debris
the
that got in his
so
windshield or something,
on his wing,
right?
his front wing. Yeah, so it destroyed his
Oh,
front wing. There's a banner, and he had the pit to replace the front wing. And so he was getting back on the track. He was way behind everyone else, and he was catching back up to him at 200 kph, and
hmm
it's pouring rain. He's can hardly see, and on the track, a tractor was coming to pick up one of the cars, and he went by the tractor at 200 kph, which is extremely dangerous because he can't see it. And he saw it as he was going by it. And those tractors have had deadly incidents on track, in recent years. So
oh, really?
it was a very big deal to him and to the other drivers, and it's a big deal overall. And it stuff happened at this track. They raced at it, at a previous, Japan Grand Prix. So that was very scary potential incident. Luckily, nothing happened. Um,
Yeah, because I got
but
up
that
this
was,
morning and turned it on, and all I saw was him screaming in the paddock. And
yeah, yeah. He was
they
he was
did
very
show
upset
his
by that.
camera from his car, and you couldn't see shit. I mean, it was
Yeah,
unbelievable. And all I
yeah,
saw
and
looked like a piece of cardboard in front of the camera, so I didn't know
yeah.
exactly
That
what happened.
was that was what started. So that was the early on incident because that was when Carlos crashed a piece of banner, a Rolex banner actually,
Well, that was
covered
in
his
what,
front
the second
wing.
or third lap? That was early
First lap.
on.
It wasn't even. It wasn't even. It was before the first lap finished.
Yeah.
It was a few corners in. So, and Lando noted it too on the start. He was like, "Yeah, we were driving full speed going on the corner, and no one could see anything." And so, yeah, kind of crazy race. Good
Yeah, I'm
thing they red
surprised they
flagged
actually
it.
let him race. I mean, because you
I think they
literally could not
wanted to
see
get it.
anything.
They wanted to get it started to start
But
that
that
kind of
that
clock, that time
that
counter.
starts the
But
clock, yeah. And I think even
yeah,
Max doesn't really feel that great about sealing the drivers' cup with this race because he.
yeah, yeah. I mean, he knew it was coming. But yeah, it's just it wasn't. You weren't really, it wasn't a full race. Like it didn't. It was just kind of all broken up and everything. No driver enjoyed this weekend's race. As
Yeah,
far as like the racing part, love the like fans and the atmosphere of it all, but like the racing part, very
yeah. I gotta
disappointing.
admit, I felt bad for the fans. I mean, you pay all that money, unless you're
Yeah.
local, but flying in and then just it's raining the whole time and you get a timed race. So
Yeah, unfortunate, but was it's the way it happened this weekend with all the rain.
and let's see
And
your team, McLaren, 10 and 11.
yeah, yeah, a little disappointing. Yeah, they didn't do much this weekend,
Looked
but
like they had a good time though in the paddock.
yeah, yeah,
I'm sad that those two will be broken up next season, but it is what it is.
yeah. Speaking of
So
that, so I don't know if you heard Ricardo officially kind of mention that he doesn't have a seat for next year, so unknown what he's going to be doing. It won't be as a F1 driver.
you, he's going to start his U.S. comedy tour.
So yeah, we'll see what happens, and that's a big fan base, and a lot of people love him. He's a great guy around the paddock, so it's really a
I'd
big
love to see him
loss for
come
F
do
one.
Indy, but it would be even hilarious to have him come do like NASCAR.
NASCAR is actually the probably the closest like to what he'll be doing next year, because there's a
Do
program
they
for
do
for drivers
do they
to from other racing to go into NASCAR.
yeah, do they have NASCAR down in Australia? I don't even know.
V8 supercars is probably the biggest thing down there.
Closest?
I wouldn't say
Huh.
it's kind of the closest. It's more street racing than like road courses, not street
Yeah.
road courses than NASCAR. But V8 supercars is kind of the big racing scene
Because
in
I know Australia
Australia.
and New Zealand, they do have a pretty good car culture.
Yeah,
So
yeah, definitely.
well,
So yeah,
Ricardo, if
he
if you go NASCAR, I'll come see you, man. I think you'd be great.
and then the other driver news. So Pierre Gasly officially going to Alpine.
Yeah.
He's signed with them, so French driver to the French team with a French teammate. Makes a lot of sense. Oscar De Vries, after his fantastic performance in the Williams car, officially got a slot with AlphaTauri and Red Bull. So
Oh, how did the
another
boys from
Dutchman.
Haas do?
Mitch Schumacher
How
was
did,
leading the race at one point. Interestingly,
what was
he
that?
was in the lead because he didn't pit and everyone else pit. He was on the wet
Really?
the he was on the super wets, and everyone pit for the intermediates. And
Yeah.
so at one point he was leading the race. So kind of
Yeah.
funny. I
For
mean,
those of you that don't know, they change tires based on track conditions.
yeah, and I will say with Mick, and so early on in the season, Madison was the clear competitive one in the two of them. He was getting points. He was finishing well. Mick has, I think, turned it around and become in the last few races the more competitive driver, and he still does not have a seat for Haas next year. So he's performing well. It's not definitely not certain if he's performed enough to keep the seat, but he has outperformed Magnussen recently, in my opinion. He's been driving
Yeah.
well.
I like Magnuson.
Although he had a tough qualifying, Mick bottomed out his car, and I think they replaced the chassis or something in free practice
Hmm.
early on this week. So, but
Okay.
yeah, bunch of
Well,
F1
now let's talk
stuff.
about your life sporting event. So, yeah, get your coffee in, take a little juice. Um, I, basically, you for those not familiar with travel in Europe, years ago it used to be you take the train everywhere, but air flights are so cheap now. What Carson basically does is look at the airline flights. What the bargain is with
I
usually
just
it's
look at it.
Ryanair.
I just looked at a
Yeah,
map
you can talk about
of
Ryanair,
flights.
and
Yeah,
the cheapest flight the last weekend was to
one of
Manchester.
one of the cheaper
One of
flights. Yeah, that I
and
was
what
looking
was
at.
happening in Manchester? The big match.
Yeah, so I was looking around and I was looking at the map and I saw Manchester had a cheap flight from Vienna, and I was looking up, is I know there's some pretty big teams in Manchester. Who are they playing? So I looked up who
Each
Manchester
other.
City's playing, and it happens to be they're playing Manchester United. The derby is on. So I got extremely lucky with
Wait a
that.
minute. Is it Derby or Derby?
So it is Derby spelled with an E, although everywhere I heard it pronounced both Darby or Derby, either one.
I gotta
I,
find
I
it.
heard
I gotta
I
find
heard both of
somebody
them.
from. Yeah, it just must be like a dialect, like somebody from the South and somebody from the North in the U.S. talking about the same
Yeah,
word.
I heard Darby, I heard Derby, I heard both. Like, yeah, I think it could be either, but I will say Manchester Derby, because I'm an American.
Yeah.
But the Manchester Derby was on last weekend. If you don't know, that is between the two biggest local teams in Manchester, Manchester City, the
Both
Baby
Premier League
Blues.
teams, right?
Yep, the Premier League reigning Premier League champion Manchester City, and the classic one of the biggest teams in the world, Manchester United, the Reds. One of the teams of the Premier League, struggling recently, but always still Manchester United, huge fan base and everything. So an inner city matchup, um, huge ramifications. Citywide too. The being best team Manchester, that rivalry. Erling Holland, the storyline with him, craziness. We'll get into that, but yeah. So I went to the Manchester Derby from last weekend. It was on the second. So yeah, I took a Ryanair flight on there. Um, it's like it's Ryanair has this thing. It's just like they provide you a flight time, and they just use that because I think they legally need to provide a flight time. It's never actually
Well, yeah, you
followed.
have to. Yeah.
Yeah, legally you have to put a flight time in there. Do they follow it? No. But the tickets are cheap, so
So you're saying the bargain airline is not efficient?
no. Well, I efficient, yes. On time, no.
That's
They
part of
are
efficiency. They are
they
one and
are
the same.
all right. So they know how to just get cheap, the cheapest of the cheap out of everything. But like just know an expectation.
But
You're gonna be a minimum of an hour late,
I was
boarding and
surprised
everything.
when there's a on the Facebook page there's posted the picture of you getting on Lauda Air. I didn't realize Lauda Air was owned by Ryan. So the fact
Yeah, I
that it was
think
a Lauda Air plane and you still late is disappointing because of Austrian efficiency, German efficiency. Nicky
yeah,
Lauda, you know, great F1 driver. So
yeah. So
how was the plane itself?
it's
Old and
it's
dirty.
not. Yeah, it's dingy. It's not very clean. I mean, I think it's kind of they take you off the plane. They put the net strip on. They don't really do anything in between. Like I'll compare it to I've flown a lot of Southwest. Southwest, I think, is pretty clean. They take care of their
Yeah, very
planes.
clean.
Like the everything works. When you get on a plane, the seat cushion is not pulled out, so you can see the life preserver underneath. That was
Did
on
you
the
get
Lauda
wait?
flight.
Did you get a snack?
No, no,
Pretzels
I
or
did not
peanuts?
pay for anything.
Oh, you have
Every
to
you had to
pay
pay
for the
for
peanuts, huh?
everything. You have to pay for
What?
literally everything.
No water?
They nope, nothing. Not a thing you get for free. And I will say they
Do you have do
also
you have to use a restroom?
you
Is it
do get
free?
that for free because legally
Uh,
have to
there's
get
probably
that.
no toilet paper
Yeah. They also sell duty free cigarettes by the carton and duty free
on the
alcohol
plane.
by the yep on the plane. They'll come through. And they have deals if you spend $50 and or €50 in duty free, you get €5 off your next bottle of liquor. So, like they sell that on the plane. So, it's an experience. I see
No
why people
watches.
travel. Yeah, no duty free watches.
Okay.
I see why people do it, but there's definitively some there's a
Drawbacks.
reason it's cheap. Let's just say that.
Yeah,
So
if you have to make a meeting, it's probably not the right airline to go on.
yeah, if you need to ensure times are kept, everything's orderly, yeah, everything's gonna be right. Lufthansa, Austrian Air, like pick one of those. Like those are really
Yeah,
good airlines. Don't pick Ryanair. You do that if you're just casual and you're just. And the other
yeah.
thing, so we'll also
If,
say this, and while we're on the airport airline talk, obviously I flew to Manchester, worst airport in the world that I've experienced. Horrible airport. I just I can like
well, worst
it just
airport in the Western world.
that yeah. Well, I'll say that I've been to. I've
Okay.
been to a lot of U.S. airports. There's like a kind of standard of design for airports. They're usually pretty open. Terminals are open. Security's open air. Like you're going through the lines and everything, but everything's like kind of open and big. There's room to move around. One's got their luggage. There's plenty of seating. Manchester Airport is like an office building with cubicles. Like you're walking through like hallways that are 6 foot tall. You're walking, they're like 4 feet wide, and you got your luggage with you. Security is a mess. Like I can see why they were the epicenter of like the summer security bad luggage issue travel debacle in the UK and Europe, because I just I don't
So the
understand how it works.
yeah,
It's just a bad
so they need
airport.
to put some of their tax dollars into the airport. So you get to Manchester, you get through everything, through customs, uh, taxi,
Yeah, I
rail.
took
How
the
do you get? I
taxi.
assume it's outside of town
Yeah, so I took the taxi into central Manchester.
where
I
your
stayed.
hotel was.
Yeah, I stayed at the. So I will say taxi. You can do a taxi, but the rail line does go there, although it takes a little while. But it's like £4 compared to £30 for the rail. Um, it just finding it through the maze of the airport is another story. So more issues with
Yeah,
Manchester Airport, but
signage is not good,
yeah.
accessibility, etc.
So took the taxi to I stayed at the Hotel Indigo in kind of this shopping central district of Manchester. Fantastic hotel, pretty new. One of the cool things and one of the reasons why I chose Indigo, other than it was great to you and very nice, was that it was right across the street from the English National Football Museum, which I'm going to Manchester to see a football match. The football museum is across the street. I'm going to the museum. And so that was a very cool experience to see, the history of the English leagues, kind of how like everything started, all the trophies that were lost or stolen by drunk people. Um, that was a recurring theme. So they have a lot of trophies there, obviously, for the different leagues and tournaments they have. A lot of them are
Stolen like from the museum, or while like the
no,
team
stolen
has it
from
out
like the
on tour.
teams.
Oh,
One of them I remember was stolen from a window of a boot shop, cleats in America,
yeah.
but a boot maker, cleat maker in England in like the 30s or something, had the trophy of the team that he supplied boots to, and they had the trophy in the window, and they left it there overnight, and it was stolen overnight, never to be seen again. And
Oh, so they
so
never recovered it.
no, no, a lot of them have never been recovered, and a lot of them,
So it's kind of like the legendary Stanley Cup, but the Stanley Cup comes home all the time. It's just
yeah, yeah, a
it
lot
takes
of,
tours.
and a lot of them are like little tiny things. It's kind of funny. Or there's a lot of big ones, obviously. I got a picture with the Premier League trophy, was pretty cool. And I don't know if you know, the Premier League is not that old. Premier League was traded like the early '90s, if I remember,
I have no idea. Yeah.
91 or something, I think. Um, but Premier League's not super old. Um, but a lot of
So would
other
you
like
recommend if somebody? I think you'd have to be a football fan to go to Manchester because I don't think there's a big tourism industry because it's an
no,
industrial city.
yeah,
If they're there, you would recommend going to the museum.
yeah, yeah, definitely. It's a cool place to
Okay.
be. Cool museum, a lot of history there, a lot of trophies, stuff to do for the kids and stuff. They had like football games you could play, like a goal kick and a passing, dribbling, and stuff like
What
that.
they charge you to get in?
It's
10 euro, 12.
£10 to get in.
Oh, that's right.
I
No.
was a student, so it was a little cheaper for me, but it is a year pass, so if you can't go back to Manchester, you can go back in. Um,
Yeah.
but I got a student discount, which is cool. Um, but yeah, it was a cool museum. Um, Manchester itself, yeah, like you're saying, it's not a big tourist town. It's that you'll see around Manchester bees because there used to be called the hive of industry in England, and the citizens would be like the
Really?
worker bees. So the bee logo is everywhere in Manchester. I think it's also a big university town. I think there's a lot of university
Hmm.
students. It's a big young population, especially because London is very expensive, and so Manchester and its
But
surrounding
it's not a.
area are like two
It's too
points.
far away to be a commuter town to London. What is it, like 2 hours from London north?
Yeah, yeah. It's not you're
Yeah.
not commuting to London, but
But just people move there because of the cost of living is more affordable and
yeah,
jobs.
yeah.
Okay.
It's like two point something million for the area for Manchester and the area, population wise. So it's a
Hmm.
pretty big area. And it's seems pretty young. A lot of like artsy folks and hipsters, and a lot of cool clothing shops,
So a lot
record
of pubs and
stores.
breweries, good
Yeah,
food,
a lot of
music.
stuff like that. Music scene is very big. Um, the pub scene's huge. The nightlife scene is huge. So yeah, definitely, interesting town. Tourism wise, I don't really think there's much there, um, outside of maybe the football
So
stuff.
is the
So
stadium in town or is it outside of town?
so yeah, so the match was at it's a Manchester City home match, so it was at the Etihad, which is a newer complex. It is not in town. It's like actually it's only like a 25-minute walk from city center.
Wait,
I
so it's at Etihad. So it's um,
That's the
owned
sponsor.
by Middle Eastern.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah, yeah.
the airline. Is it the airline?
Yeah, yes, yeah.
Okay,
They call it the
and
Etihad
that's Manchester City, and
City.
so
Yeah.
Manchester United has another big stadium in town. So there's
Yeah, the
two huge
opposite.
stadiums.
Yeah, the opposite. And
Okay,
they're not. Excuse me. City's stadium is large. United Stadium is not large. Old Trafford, it's not large. It's historic. It's still
kind of like
relatively kind of what.
Wrigley or yeah.
Yeah, it's one of the like historic stadiums in England. Like tons of history. Old
What
Trafford
do you think it
is
holds?
30
60,000?
30,000 maybe
30? Oh, so
35
smaller. Okay.
40 40,000. It's not that big, no. And I know they've added to it over the years, so but Etihad is a newer stadium, not Tottenham Hotspur, stadium, but still a
Yeah.
newer style stadium. Um and it is on the outside of town, not super far though, probably a 25-30 minute walk, 10-15 minute train ride, which is what I took. Um Surprisingly, it looked like a lot of people drove out there, whether
Wow,
from the
that's
surrounding
unusual.
area.
So
Um,
they have a parking lot of
oh yeah, yeah. When I was headed back to the hotel after the match, I was getting on the train. The train line was very quick. It looked like most people were going past it to the parking garage beyond, and I assumed other parking garages around or walking
That's
to wherever they're
unusual for
going.
Europe.
Yeah, so not as many people as I expected on like the train system, but I also think a lot of people walked. Like I think the walking is pretty common. At least that
So it's like in the
they had.
suburbs kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah, it's not
A
too
lot of
far out of
okay.
town. Yeah. But definitely, a cool stadium. It's the Etihad. It's known. Um, they have
Where was your seat?
well, I'll say I got there early, so they have like I think they call it City Square, is where they have like a kind of pregame, like you know, uh, MC kind of. They go through some pregame fun stuff. That some games they have a rest like a
Inside the stadium.
outside the stadium. Outside the stadium.
Oh, okay.
They have the team store right there, which I picked up a scarf. Well, so I pick up stars when I go to different football events. So you can kind of see above me, Spurs. So when I went to Tottenham, Spurs,
Tottenham.
Deutschland. When I went to Germany versus England, that's Bayern Munich. That was the first match I went to. So that's a Bayern Munich Christmas special edition one. I really like that one. It's probably my all-time favorite that I'll ever have. Super cool Christmas scarf. And that is last. So
I
that's
become a
England's
scarf
one.
nerd.
Yeah, so picked up because I have seen the English national team when they played Deutschland in Munich, and so I went to the English National Museum. I picked up the England scarf, so that is this one. You can
That's
see
pretty
kind of the
cool.
crest on there,
Yeah.
the three
The crest is
lions.
very cool.
Just says England on it, so the classic from the England one. I picked up the cheap match day United City scarf. So funny story I'll mention about this in this set. So it's
What do
dated.
they do? That's each team kind of put together
Yeah,
on a scarf.
so United in red, City in blue, logos for each of them.
So that's for guys like you that don't have a team. You're just kind of there to watch.
Well, and it's dated, so it's got the day of the match on it, so kind of a remembrance
Yeah,
of
but I would think if you're a Man U fan, you
yeah.
would not want anything with
Yeah,
the
all so
Manchester City
I'll
on
mention a story about that in a second. But yes, all the tourists had
it.
that scarf, and I wanted one because it was dated everything. This is the
Yeah,
one I
you're a
got
tourist.
from the city shop. It is much nicer. Has the city stuff. They're a Puma sponsored team. I don't know if you can read that. They are a Puma team, so this is much nicer city scarf. Um, but just
But
clean style. But I will say, so funny story about the two team scarf that I got. I was getting some food back in the in the town center, and I placed an order, and the chick taking the order was like after I placed it, she's like, "You American?" I was like, "How'd you know? Was that easy?" She's like, "No, you're wearing both colors in the scarf because I had the scarf on." I was thinking she's gonna say, "Oh yeah, it's not an American," but no, she's like, "No one, no local would wear both colors." So,
I'd have to agree with her. I mean, from what I
which
know,
yeah,
you're
very
lucky you
very
weren't in a
true.
section with hooligans or
Yeah,
something.
yeah, very very true. But it was just it was funny. That was her comment, not like my accent or something. She's like, "Oh, you're an American because you're wearing both colors."
Your
So,
accent, that's pretty funny too.
but yeah,
Uh,
so picked up that pregame, both of those stars pregame. England won at the museum. Um, they have like a bar and restaurant outside to just kind of hang out pre-match. Pre-match, they also 90 minutes before the match, the players come in via bus, and so I walked over, got a kind of nice spot, waited like 20 minutes um, for the bus to arrive, and watched the team come in,
the
owners come
parade,
in.
yeah.
Yeah, so the at first there's a few like luxury cars that pulled in, drop off, bigwigs that go into the box seats and the stuff up top, like the owner of Man City, um,
He's
uh,
Ben Saladi. It's
Ben
Mensur
Salam.
bin.
Yeah, yeah, I can't remember his
Yeah,
name. Um, and then Sir Alex Ferguson actually walked in. So if you don't know, he's a legendary Manchester United manager. And
did you get pictures,
yeah, I have
autographs?
pictures. No autographs, no.
Oh,
But Sir Alex Ferguson walked in. So that was cool. Or popped in from a car, and then the team bus, Manchester City team bus came. Saw the players walk out. They kind of announced the players as they got off the bus. Saw Kevin De Bruyne, Phil Foden, and
yeah.
big new signing Erling Haaland, which is super cool. So a lot of cool stuff pregame. Walked around the stadium a little bit and just saw everyone. There was at one point a kind of gaggle of Manchester United fans that walked by the extremely crowded beer area at the city square outside the stadium, and they got into a shouting match between the two sides. Um, so that was kind of fun. But
Were you wearing a scarf at that time?
yeah, I was wearing the Man U Man City game and the City scarf, so I was wearing two of them.
Oh, so you were the tourist, so you
Yeah,
were fairly
there
safe.
was a bunch of people. There was a
Pick a
lot of
side.
people wearing those scarves, so it was no big deal.
Well, also, and Manchester U is an American-owned team, or partially, right? The Glazer family,
Yeah,
or something like
yeah,
that.
controversially, yeah, yeah. They want them. The fans want the Glazers out, but yes, the Manchester
Is that
United's
because they're not investing in the team and they kind of
they
suck,
they
or
just think they're making the wrong decisions, even though they made. I don't want to really comment on it because I don't really know, but from the looks of it, they've made decisions that the fan wants, but then they don't work, and the fans are like, "You made the wrong decisions," and they fire people, and they like for some reason say they don't
that's
put in
typical
money.
of any sports team, though.
Yeah, so it's hard to and yeah, they can always fall back on other Americans. They don't know our game, so it's kind of easy to attack them. They've owned it for pretty good while now, so I think they've owned it for a while.
What are don't they own us? They're also owners of
They
in the
own
U.S., aren't they?
yeah, they own another sports franchise, and I can't remember the name right now. The
Huh.
Buccaneers, maybe.
In the U.S., though, right?
Yeah, they own another American sports franchise, a big one. but I can't remember who. I think it's the Buccaneers, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, for some reason I think you're right.
But yeah, so United's owned by. Yeah, so we get in. So I have seats in the lower section, corner of the field, opposite side of the benches, but for 3 rows up from the corner post, corner flag, um, and so awesome seats, lower on the ground, so kind of not super easy to see stuff. It
Yeah.
unfortunately at a lot of times it was super bright out, sun came out and right in our eyes, so like everyone was like, couldn't see anything, trying to put their hands up, and it was like impossible to see stuff for a lot of the match, um, because it was just so
But a
bright.
mellow section. You weren't in like a big crowded
Yeah, so I was
the
in they
hooligan
call the
or
family stand, which is the opposite of
Mhm.
the ultras or the hooligan stand, and opposite because they put both the United fan section, which you can clearly see separated by the ushers and the police in like very bright fluorescent jackets, right next to the like hardcore city fans. Um, so, but they were on
I
the
never
opposite end of
understand
the
if
stadium.
they yeah, but they put them next to each other.
Yeah.
And in all the stadiums, then fights break out and they wonder why.
Well, they don't necessarily break out anymore because a lot of stadiums either do like what City did, where there's 2 rows
A wall.
of human ushers and police in between, all the way up to the top deck, and you can't. And they have a separate entrance that only the guest fans can come in and out of, and
Yeah, but why wouldn't you
It's all
put
gated too.
like in one corner, one end zone, or one side of the stadium, put the other team on the opposite side so they're not next to each other screaming the whole
I
match
think
at each
partly
other.
because then they'd be next to like the families, and I don't know if you want that either.
Yeah,
So, it's
yeah.
just the way they designed the stadium. It is what it is.
But it seems that way in every European soccer football stadium,
Yeah, it's just
whether
how
you're
it's
in Spain or
just how
Portugal
it
or
is.
England
Yeah,
or
I
Austria.
think it allows the police to
Yeah.
focus in that area too. Um,
So, but the match was good.
yeah, so
Man U dominated, right?
crazy. City dominated. So,
Oh,
um,
City.
at the end of the first half, 4-0. City was destroying United at the end of the first half. 2 goals from Phil Foden. So what's very cool about that, Phil Foden, and this at the end of the first half, Phil Foden is a local to Man City, grew up a Man City fan. Local, and he's from the area of Manchester. Um, he grew up a City fan, went through their academy, and is now one
Hmm.
of the top players for City, and he's still young. So Phil Foden had 2 at half, and then the new summer signee continuing his ridiculous scoring streak. Erling Haaland had 2 at half, and so 4-0 at halftime. It was just embarrassing, and United fans were leaving at half, which is not seen often. Um, Ended up so second half, um, Erling Haaland gets his hat trick. So what's especially crazy about that? So Erling Haaland gets his hat trick, his 3 goals. That was three straight hat tricks in 3 straight home games. Never happened before.
Wow.
The dude has played 8 Premier League home games or 8 Premier League matches in total at that point, and he did something that had never happened before in the history of the Premier League. 3 straight home game hat tricks.
Yeah, what's this guy's name?
Erling Haaland, Haaland, from
He's not that big,
he
tall
is,
guy.
yeah, the Viking from Norway
Oh,
that used to
okay.
play for Salzburg when he was young, then played in
Yeah.
Dortmund, for Borussia Dortmund.
And didn't he have like a scissor kick in that
And
game
the
too?
previous game, yeah, that one I sent you a picture of that we talked about.
So how tall is he?
He's a big dude. Like it just in person, like I saw him. He's a big dude. He just looks big. He's
Oh, you saw him walking by in the
Yeah.
parade?
I saw him walking by when he came in. I saw him walking on the field because I was at field level. Um, like he warmed up in front of my section. The dude is a just a big dude. Like he is a big dude.
So he could play in the
Yeah, he could
NFL
be a
based
tight
on his
end. He could be in
physicality.
the NBA. He is a physical.
He's a Bronc.
Yeah, I mean he's just like slick back blonde hair, kind of Norwegian Viking.
He did look like a guy out of the Viking series. I mean, he did.
Uh,
He fits the
and
Nordic
he
look.
just knows
So
how to score goals, which is crazy. So
yeah,
right now, another match day pass. So his 9 Premier League matches so far in the season. He has 15 goals. To put that in perspective, there's 30 more matches. The Premier League goal record for a single season is 34. He's on
so
pace
he's
for
on
like
track.
50 something goals. So
Yeah,
I was trying to put that in American sports terms. So Ichiro Suzuki has like, and I'm kind of this is off the top of my head. So I know Suzuki has the hits record, something like 210 hits in a season, right? Actually, easier one,
yeah,
Barry Bonds, 73 home runs. Barry Bonds has 73 home runs in 162 baseball games. Um, Home run record for all of baseball. Shout out to Aaron Judge breaking the AL one this year.
yeah. I was gonna say Aaron Judge and Roger Maris. The whole.
Aaron Judge broke
I
it
mean,
this
that's
year.
going on
Yeah,
now.
so but Barry
Yeah.
Bonds
So
has 73 home runs. If you want to make it Aaron Judge, we'll do that. So Aaron Judge at 61, 62 on the season. Um, if you were to put it in Erling Haaland terms, by game, um, we'll say halfway into the season, he would have already had 60 home runs, kind of thing. Like
hmm.
the pace he's on right now is absurd. Like no one's ever been on this pace.
Well,
Like he's
yeah. You'll have to see if he keeps it
yeah,
up.
yeah, but
Now that everybody's focused
well
on him.
that's the thing is like everyone's focused on him and he put 3 hat tricks in a row in 3 home games. Like he did that. Like he knows how to score and so that's just Premier League in the Champions League this year. He's played 3 matches, has 5 goals in 3 matches in the Champions League.
Yeah.
Um, like he's
So it was kind of a blowout. Were you disappointed it wasn't a better match, or
no,
were you
it's
just happy to see that
seeing
talent level?
seeing these goals scored like so I'll also say Phil Foden got his hat trick as well. So local boy getting his hat trick. So they had 2 hat tricks on their team for their 6 goals on the day. Manchester United did show some fight. They ended up 6-3. They had a really nice goal from Anthony at the start of the second half. It was like 4-1. And he had a really nice looking goal and like great shot and a little bit of
Oh,
life.
just so Arsenal won, but they just put up a screenshot. Arsenal's number one and Manchester City's number
Yeah, I
two
think 1 point behind.
in the Premier League, I guess.
Yeah,
Yeah,
City's 1 point
yeah.
behind. But City hasn't lost yet, and Arsenal has. So City's still undefeated on the year.
Hmm. Okay.
But yeah, so United made it a little bit of a match. Then it was like 6-3, and like it was a blowout. There was a penalty goal at the end for United that really didn't matter. So that's why I got
Yeah.
to 3. But it was just utter domination by City. They completely destroyed him. It was world class football, and it's beautiful because you have Holland who can just knows how to put a ball in the back of the net. That's what he does. He just knows how to score wherever you get him. You saw the scissor kick kind of goal like that. I showed you the where he just freaking
Yeah.
Spartan kicked like from the movie 300 last week. He knows how to put it in. He's got Kevin De Bruyne feeding him the ball. Kevin De Bruyne is one of the most skillful players in the world. And with Phil Foden, their team just
Did you
it's.
know these guys before you moved to
I knew
Austria
some of
or
them.
Europe?
Yeah, like De Bruyne is
Oh, right.
very famous. Holland I knew a little bit just because he was kind of like this mysterious like robot scoring goals in the Bundesliga. Um, but
So
City's a big name.
all in all,
But yeah, it was
your trip, the Ryanair getting sick.
yeah.
Well, you had a nice hotel. It was worth it.
Yeah, I mean, as a sports fan, to see one of the pinnacle matchups in one of the in the league.
Premier
Yeah.
stadiums.
So the Premier League, obviously, to describe it, it's one of the premier leagues of football in the world, if not um the world's game. As a fan of sports, at the Etihad, to see like history with Erling Haaland is and what he's doing, to be able to see that in person. It's kind of like if I were able to 10 years ago, 15 years ago, see Messi or Ronaldo in their peak of their career, or their early career.
Or I'll put it like when I went to Giant Stadium, saw Barry Bonds.
Yours was a little bit more special, I think, because that was his home run season. It wasn't like early.
Yeah, but now, yeah, he tied and broke the record, but now there's an asterisk next to him too.
Yeah,
So
he still put them over the fence. That's another debate we can get
yeah,
into, but he still
that
did the
yeah,
thing. It's
that's
very
don't
extremely
need
hard,
to.
but like to see Erling
Yeah.
Haaland put on like the performance that he did, that it's just an insane thing he's doing, to be able to experience that, to be able to be like at a United versus City derby, like one of those
Mhm.
things,
Or Derby.
derby, if you want to call it.
As an American, a foreigner, a
Yeah, but it,
tourist,
just
so
as
that
a
was
fan of
cool.
sports, like that's what I love. Like I love seeing sports played. I love seeing, if it's football, American football, basketball, baseball,
Yeah.
cricket, rugby, Aussie rules football, field
Well,
hockey. Like
and
seeing these big
let me
matchups.
also point out, it Carson just had his birthday. That was kind of his birthday trip. So happy birthday,
Yep,
and
yep.
congratulations. So you've been there about a year, done a lot of different things, but I will also say congratulations. Carson is initiating, helping out with his university's first ever outside of Vienna football team, collegiate football
American.
team. They announced the name, American football team. They are the JKU Astros. They had their first basketball exhibition match the other night. Carson was sick, couldn't go, but I think they had a good turnout.
Yeah,
Fans were there. They actually have cheerleaders, which was
they have
shocking. The logo is kind of cool, kind of comical. But I think you have football tryouts
tomorrow.
this
Yeah,
Monday,
tomorrow.
tomorrow. So I think that will probably be something in future episodes to discuss. But so not only do you get to watch Premier League football in a historic stadium, you're actually participating in somewhat of a historic endeavor in bringing collegiate football to Europe.
Yep, to
So
Austria. So
congratulations and happy
that should
birthday!
be interesting. So yeah,
Go Astros!
Astros. The duck logo.
Their duck. I suggested they do the Jetsons dog
Yeah.
Astro, but they went with a duck logo. So you'll have to throw that up sometime in the
Yeah, so
future.
that's I think that's a great point to end it on. But I will just finish by saying, yeah, fantastic trip to go see Manchester City versus United. I can, if you're a fan of sports, fan of football, fan of seeing an event like that, definitely recommend it. I would love to also see it at.
It's a cultural thing
Yeah,
too. I don't even think you need to be a fan of sports, but just to go
I would
see it, I
say
think would be.
the experience at Old Trafford with a good United team, may surpass it. Not sure. Old Trafford is one of those historic places, like a Fenway, like a Wrigley,
Yeah,
that just oozes history.
I think a cup, going to see a cup in Wembley
Yeah,
would be kind
any
of a.
game in Wembley is big. So
Which before we end it, I will say I caught up on the episodes of Welcome to Wrexham,
welcome
and
to Wexham.
they Rex. Yeah, I always forget to put
R.
that in there. I'm trying to figure out if they got moved up or not because they were on a streak of winning. They didn't get.
No,
They didn't
they're
move
still in
up.
the same
They
league right
remained
now.
down. Oh, that sucks because they were in second place, and they actually, I think,
Finished in second.
the last episode they were in. What's the cup name that they were
FA.
in? Yeah, FA Cup. There's two cups they participated in. They actually beat the team. It was kind of cool.
Yeah.
So
So yeah, I still need to catch up on episodes there, but yeah, we'll finish up there because we're almost nearing the hour mark.
yeah,
But yeah, look forward to some episodes as I start into this American football adventure with Johannes Kepler University Astros. Go Astros. Um, I think we have
finally have some merch
yeah,
to
some
buy.
merch coming out. I think we'll have an episode coming up too on some past history I have. We'll get into some automotive stuff. I'll shout out Duncan Imports because that'll be a cool episode. I have a lot of history there with them. A lot of cool stuff went on when I was there and still goes on with Duncan Imports. And if you don't know, I've been in the car industry a long time, so have some cool stuff from that. And yeah, it's looking forward to the future. Any last remarks from you?
Nope. Congratulations, happy birthday, and looks like some fun times ahead. You had a great year, so I think the next year is going to be as good, if not
Yep, for
better.
sure. So with
Uh,
that, we'll send out.
Congratulations to Red
Yeah,
Bull
Red Bull Max.
and
Yeah, we'll
Choose.
send out here. Find us again on YouTube at Wits End, on TikTok at Wits End, and then our new Facebook page at Wits End, where we'll be posting content regularly. With that, we'll see you next time. Bye.